Welcome to another edition of the Low Code Cafe. This is episode number 159 for April 10, 2024. Today's topic is going to be about dynamic workflows, and we'll dig into that in the hands-on low coding portion of our program, which is the biggest part. I'm joined today by Patrick Anderson, Technical Success Manager. I am Dale Warner, Head of Support for Plantain App. This is an event we do bi-weekly, every other Wednesday at this hour, and we do updates and demos and hands-on coding, get stories from around the community. But we do invite you to join us every 2 weeks, but also to be our guest speaker if you have something that would be of interest to the Plantain App community. We would enjoy it if you reach out and we can show off something that you've built. We record all these. We put them on YouTube, youtube.com/plantainapp. So we encourage you to go there and subscribe and hit the alarm bell so that you know when we post new content. We put all these out there and put effort into putting those into chapters so you can jump right to the portion that maybe you missed or want to review. So do take advantage of that resource. Today will be all presented by me. We'll be doing a From the Trenches segment, and then we'll dive into dynamic workflows. We encourage you to engage with us. There's a chat window and a question and answer window here in Zoom. And if you want to talk, you can raise your hand. And other than that, there's a feedback form where you can tell us what you thought about the hour and whether it was worth it for you. The next bi-weekly meeting would be the next live webinar should be scheduled for April 24th, so you can plan to join us there. Sure, we'll have some interesting topic to go to deal with. We are currently in the midst of a beta testing period on release 126. If you missed it 2 weeks ago, we went in detail about the things that are part of that, but you can see the major areas that we worked to change our current version into 126. So we have workflows, changes in APIs, changes to the way we do upgrades, and many more things. That went into beta on March 29th, and we're anticipating releasing that either later this month or in early May. We also mentioned last time the version 127, which of course development is already underway on that, and some of the topics that are going to be part of that. One of the ones that I was most asked about most frequently is .NET Nuke 9.13 compatibility, and it is our plan to release that. So 127 is planned to be a shorter cycle release. We hope to have that for you in a shorter time frame. So we're to work on it now, and so hopefully in early summer you'll have that available, and then be able to upgrade to 9.13 as well. So the From the Trenches of Support segment, normally we talk about hot fixes, but there are no hot fixes that were released in the last 2 weeks. So we've previously released 90 different ones, and so lots of the work that we've been doing over these since the release of version 125, as we build into 126, we also release them out to you as hot fixes. So even though our major version hasn't gone up, we've released quite a few features and stability items. And so encourage you to take a look there. If you have any questions about what's available, and feel free to enter a support ticket and I'll get right on that. We had a question come up internally about just being able to display the local time on a listing or in a form, and it was just complex enough that we thought we would talk about it a little bit here today. So, and I say complex enough, we don't have a nice token that says show the local time. And we had a case, we have a button in a listing that we want to display the current date that the last time that something was done. We don't want to display it in UTC time. That was just confusing to our users. And so if we possibly can, we're going to convert that to local time. Or at least that's the thought. Maybe it'll make it into 126, maybe 127, but it'll happen. But in the meantime, we learned this technique, and it's going to be on your clipboard in a minute that's in the chat. But in listings, there is a token called time zone, and we'll explore that a little bit here in a minute. And the time zone can then, this is the time zone of the current user. So that information can be used together with this date time token that you're going to see here, where you can convert the date time ISO using the time zone and format it down to the way that you want to see it to produce a time. And so we'll come back to this in just a second, but let's see what it looks like. I have a site here that's set up with that, and so we have a button that shows the local time is Wednesday, April 10th at 10:07 a.m., which is my local time. If you were to browse to this, it would show in your local time zone. And so then I did the same thing in a form. And so both of these very similar, but a little bit different. So we'll show the differences. This button, when we click it, you'll see, we'll get to the code underneath this in just a second, but when we click it, one of the things that we display is the time zone token. And for me, it's -300, which is, this is expressed in minutes, 5 hours difference from UTC time. So the fact that we can get a hold of that -300 lets us use it in this token. So this has a value something like -300, and then we input that as our offset. And so then let's just take a look at the other components. So while this is the item that will generate a local date and time, I broke it down into its components. So there is the date time convert function, and its whole that's a core token that will allow you to convert a time of value from one to another by using an offset. So that's the first part. Date time ISO is the ISO format, and it looks just like this. I've displayed it here on the screen, but it's this complex year, month, day, time down to the fragment with an offset. So we're displaying it as UTC time here. So this core token date time ISO gets the current UTC time in a very specific format. We're using the time zone, dollar time zone, to change it to whatever the user is, the zone where the user is. And then this little used, or perhaps, well, I'll just say it's an available token. You can use the pipe character to provide a format for a date, and so this is the Microsoft date fragments, month, day, year. You can rearrange them. You can add in things like MMM to have the month abbreviation, or 4Ms to do the month name. There are lots of variability in the way that you can suggest the time format. But yes, the end result here in my case is I'm able to display it with the full day of the week. I'm doing a fragment of the month, but getting the local time. So the code behind, and I'm going to actually just look at my button code. When I've got all that in the, I used a token in my case, but I've got all that for the local time, but then I'm displaying that toast message. And so we're displaying the time zone. And then here's this, that's going to be on your clipboard. And Patrick, you can go ahead and post those if anytime you're ready. And so you can just take advantage of this token and be able to display local time in a grid. So one of the fun things that I discovered as I was searching this out is that while time zone, $ time zone is a listing variable and shows as -300, in forms we have a variable or a token that's not that is similar but not identical, and it's called _ time zone offset. And in this case, it's showing as a positive number, 300. So it's a little bit more complex to, or another step, slightly different to do the local time, but you can do it. So here we have, in my case, in the form, we're displaying out the date and the time, and still able to do the exact same thing. It's just a slightly different formula. So let's take a look at that form. This just has a static text with, we're displaying the ISO date just so you can get a feel for what that looks like. This time zone offset token so that you can see that it's a positive 300. And so then it's that same formula, except I've inserted a do math here to multiply times -1. So I need it as minus 300 minutes in order to make this formula work. But essentially the same thing, just a slightly different time zone offset input. So all that's on your on the webinar chat if you want to take advantage of it. Okay. So hopefully you'll find that handy, the ability to show current local time for your users. And yeah, so here's the same slide, but just showing that component is this do math expression. So all that's available to you. If you want to talk about this or anything else, back and forth with us, there is the Low Code Campfire, an event we do every Friday at this same hour, 10 a.m. Central Time. And it's just an opportunity to get together with us and your low code compatriots, the other low code users, and talk about what you're doing or what you're having trouble with, what you're anticipating to do next. It's kind of like a steering committee that you can use to as a tool to help you get through some of the things that maybe you're facing in your projects. So bring a question or be ready to help answer a question, but come and engage with us in Low Code Campfire. The link for that is also on as part of that Patrick posted. And that's all, these are all the links. You can get to the Low Code Campfire, you can get to our recordings on YouTube. Community portal is the spot where you interact with us. You can post questions that go to both us and the community at large. So maybe you have a question that's broader or needs to draw on the experience of others. It's a good spot to do that. It's also the community portals where we do the beta testing on the beta site. And then where you can give us feedback. So do engage with us there, take advantage of those. So with that, I'm going to jump on into our hands-on low coding, where we're going to talk about dynamic workflows, which is also known as the execute workflow action. So what I've got for you today is, let me give you an overview. I'm going to give you a tour of a system that I've started to build, and then we're going to enhance it. The system that I've built is a message delivery system. The idea is that you can create a message and specify the subscriber that you want that to go to, and then the system will take care of delivering the message. And so these messages are being delivered immediately by way of an automation job. And the main limitation of it is that it's currently set up only to deliver the message by email. So where we're going today is to deal with additional delivery methods as a new customizable process. So we could do things like sending not just an email to a person, but maybe to their entire team, or send a message, a text message to the subscriber or to their entire team, or even do a printed letter. And then there's the idea any other additional methods for delivery could be built in the same way. And so you'll see us, we're going to take advantage of execute workflow to do all of this. So let's take a look at what we have. We don't need that one anymore. Here's our delivery system. And so what we have is a message entity. And if we create a message, let's create a new one. And course, things blow up when you're trying to do it live. There we go. Okay, so the subject of this is Message Cafe, and I'm going to send it to a subscriber, Dale Warner. That will say the urgency is low, and it's and we'll set this as a new message. So behind the scenes, there's a job going on that's going to deliver this message. And so when I refresh, it goes from a new status to a sent status. So let's chase that down. What's going on behind the scenes? If we go to configuration, automation, we have a job running that's called send messages. It goes and it reads all the messages where the message status is 1, which is new, and then it puts those into a message list. And so now we're going executing actions for each list entry through message list, and it is executing a workflow called do delivery for message, and it's passing both the ID of the message and the ID of the subscriber. So that workflow knows how to do the delivery. Let's see what that looks like. We have do delivery for message. We take a look at that, edit it. So it has 2 inputs. It has a message and a subscriber. This is the message that we're going to deliver. This is who the subscriber it's going to go to, and that makes all those fields in those entities available for us to quickly use. It's a pretty straightforward process where we partially update the message and say that we're sending it. So we set it to a property value of 2. We'll see that in a minute when I look at my message statuses, but we're marking it as sending. And then we go on to create a token called results. This is what's going to come out, just a free form text. The message has been sent. We have a send email action that sends it to the subscriber email. So that's coming from the subscriber record. We're sending the message subject and the message as the content of it. And if there's an error, any kind of error, we're changing the results to the message had errors. So either way, we're going to have results. I am changing it to the status of sent. So the message becomes sent by setting the property 3, and then we're done. So the output is just this results, and it's just a text description of the results of this message delivery. This is taking advantage of these new descriptions. Version 126 included the descriptions on both the inputs and the outputs. And going back to my automation, we can see these at work. So for example, when we're calling the workflow, we see the help text of messages, the message to be delivered. The subscriber is the subscriber to send it to. So now we have this explanation of what these things are to the workflow, and text description of the results of the message. So just a nice cosmetic helping thing to explain how to use a particular workflow. So let's see, I'm going to bring up on another screen here my email account and see if if that message got delivered as I would have expected. And so, yes, we have a message during the low code, message during cafe, and hi from the low code cafe. Message got delivered. So the email went out. It's all, the point is it's a working system, simplistic as it is. Let's take a look at a couple of the other entities that we did. So I'm going to preview the front of the site. I put all the other entities into, I have messages that we've looked at already, But then I have message urgencies as a low, medium, high. So this would be a behind the scenes table just to keeping up with those statuses. The message statuses are new and sending and sent. So that's where we got the 1 and 2 and 3. And then I have a subscriber list here, and the subscriber has things like the name, the address, the email, a team code, and SMS. So currently all we did was email, and so that's all we need. But if we were going to send to a team, or send it by SMS, or send it by a letter, you might need to fill in these other things. Okay, so that's the setup of what we have, and it's developed only to do email. So now we're going to go on to this new and customizable process. So let's get to work. The what we have now is this do delivery for message, and it's just set up to do one thing. And we could, for example, change the input of this to ask, well, how do you want to deliver it? And then put a bunch of branching in here to say, well, if they want email, do this branch. If they want email to the team, do that branch. If they want something else, do the other thing. And that workflow just gets more and more complex. The execute workflow action is is a nice, elegant way to handle that. And so let's take a look at how that will work. So the way I'm going to implement this is I'm going to create a new workflow that's going to be called deliver message by email. It's going to be the delivery, this one piece of the delivery method. This is the thing that we're going to link into our workflow. So we have to replace the existing functionality, and then we can go on to our other ones as well. So this one is what it's going to have is the same inputs and the same outputs. And you're going to notice that all the different ones I do are going to have the same inputs and outputs to just make it very easy to call them dynamically. So it's going to have a message as an input, and this is of the type entity message. And then it's also going to have a subscriber as an input, and this is going to be an entity of type subscriber. So we have the same inputs as we have in our existing workflow. There's going to be some kind of process here, and so for a placeholder process, I am just going to we'll do a create update token that's going to be results, and we'll just say send. This is again just a placeholder. We'll do more with this later. But that is the results, and then we'll say that we're done. We'll come back here and actually do the work of delivering it by email in a bit. Right now, we're just kind of building a stub to work with. So the output then is going to be results, and we'll send that same token back out to our caller. So yeah, we'll save that much. And now let's get a little bit more advanced. So what we want to do is when we have we have a message, we have a subscriber. The whole thing, this workflow is just going to focus on the delivery, not on anything other than delivering the message. So in this particular case, we're doing deliver by email. It just means we're going to send an email to the subscriber. So we can essentially do the same thing as our original one did. We're going to do a send email action. It's going to go to the subscriber email. The subject is going to be message subject. The body of it is going to be the message. And it's just going to go. I'm not going to deal with the on error things here. Ideally, we would prep for errors and capture that, but we're gonna, in the interest of time, just skip that. So this is again just focusing on message delivery. We're getting a message, we're getting a subscriber, we're saying some kind of result that it's sent. We're sending the email, we're done, and then we're outputting that. So having done just that much, I'm going to save. And so now what we can do we can go back to our original do delivery for message. And instead of actually doing the send email here, we can call a workflow. So I'm going to take this out. And we can say as an action, execute workflow. It's in the workflows section. And we'll pick out what workflow we want to do, which is going to be deliver message by email. Patrick, can you take a note on this one? Get app builder updates probably shouldn't be listed in that action.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So we need to pass parameters to it. Parameters, I'm going to save this, and I may need to do a clear cache here. Let's see if I can make this work correctly. The execute workflow, when you say that you're going to deliver message by email, it should give you a list of workflow inputs that you can use. That seems to be an issue that we need to clean up. We're using this 1.26 version, which is in beta, and that might be something we need to clean up as well. I'm going to go back to our old view and see. Patrick, you got a suggestion?
I was gonna say, have you refreshed since but maybe you had already.
Good question. Let's try it one more time. So we have refreshed. We go to execute workflow, and so I'm gonna do this under our old view. We apparently have a bug in the new view. Let's see about this. So execute workflow, and then yeah, we have this is what's supposed to happen. So we're executing a workflow. We're picking the workflow that we want by name. So then we can link it to, well, the message is going to be the same as the message that's the input to this workflow, and the subscriber is going to be the subscriber to this workflow. And then we're going to output something called R. This is all of the way that the results are returned to an execute workflow is all of the outputs that come from the workflow that you're calling just get built up as something that you can access as JSON. So it gives you instructions about how we can do that there, and we'll dig into that a little bit more in a bit. So our do delivery for message, this used to be hard coded to send an email. Now instead it is calling a workflow, and it's calling one specific workflow. So we haven't gotten to dynamic yet, but we're headed that way. But it's calling a workflow. The workflow that we're using is deliver message by email. So it still should send an email. And so let's test this out. So we'll do save and test. By the way, just another feature of 126 is that you can say, instead of picking these by ID, you pick them by their name. So that's a little bit easier for testing. So we're sending this same message during cafe to the same user, Dale Warner. And let's see if it runs. We get a message back that it says it has been sent. And let's take a look at my inbox. And hopefully we'll check that in a minute. Here, get offline. But yeah, if we look at our message, actually we can, let's make this message be a little bit different so that we can say it's new, and now we'll try it again. We're going to run it dynamically and refresh, and we can see that it's been sent. And in fact, here on we have this second message during cafe. So it is working. All right. So we've done a couple of changes, but we haven't gotten to the dynamic part yet. So let's dive into dynamic. We go back to our workflows. We've got a message that says deliver message by email. And so now we can, let's see about building more of those. So let's say that what we want to do is a second methodology where we're going to deliver a message by email to the team. So I am going to, actually, I'm just going to duplicate this. Saves me from having to do a lot of the work. And so I'm now working with the copy, and I'm going to change it from change the name to deliver message by email to team. And so now we have a separate workflow that we're going to, instead of doing it this way, where we're just sending it directly, the idea is that, let's go take a look at it. We've got these subscribers, and maybe we have 2 subscribers that we want to send it to. So we'll say the team code is, for the Dale Warner record, is PAA support. And let's add a Patrick record here. We'll give him the same team code. So now everybody that has that team code is going to get, the goal is that everyone gets the same message. So let's see how that works. So what we're going to have to do, we still have the same inputs. We have a message and a subscriber. And so we're going to look at the subscriber's team code. Yep, team code. And go get all of the subscribers that match. A lot of times I rely on that's going to be a little bit of SQL work, so I'm going to do the intermediate SQL here just interactively. Let's go in and turn on our SQL console. And so we're talking about subscribers, so we want to select everything from app subscriber, where the where the let's see, team code is PAA support. We'll be substituting that dynamically later on, but this is apparently you have to have legal SQL syntax. So now this is getting everybody from that team. Of course, those are the only two records, but at least it demonstrates. So this is getting the information that we need to be able to deliver to the team. And in fact, in our case, perhaps all we need is the email. So we can even narrow that down. These are the emails that we want to send to. So this is the SQL that's going to get what we need. So back to our process of how do we do this. We can create an action that's something like load. We're going to create a list from SQL. And it's going to be based on this SQL that we just developed, but we're going to clean this up a little bit. So instead of doing hard-coded to PAA support, we're going to do it to a parameter name. And so we'll slip that parameter name in there. And the parameter name we want, we're going to get it off of subscriber team code. So the subscriber that came in has a team code. We're going to get whatever team code they have. And we're going to create a list that's going to be the let's see what we'll call it. Oh, well, so we'll call it the mail list. It doesn't matter. And so and actually, from a documentation point, I like to say something like this: create mail list from SQL, just so I can see what this is doing. And so instead of sending the email directly, what we're going to do is do a number of individual sends. So that's going to be a for each. Execute actions for each list entry. The list that we're working with is the mail list. And then I can take this. I'm just going to export this so it's kind of like a copy and paste. We're going to paste it into here as a action. So we got our send email now inside the action list. We're still, instead of sending it to subscriber email, though, we're sending it to the mail list. It doesn't have to be same case, but I like to just for consistency. I'm a consistent kind of guy. So we've got, we're sending it to the output of that load SQL. We got the emails that we want to send it to. We're still sending the message subject and the message. Those are coming from the inputs. And again, we should be dealing with on errors, and we're not. So instead of sending it here, we're sending it here. Execute actions for each. So this workflow gives us a similar but different result. And I guess maybe we can make a small difference here. In the send email, maybe we can say team just to kind of differentiate it here. But now if this workflow were to be used to do the delivery, it's going to deliver to the team, not just to the individual. So now the question is, how do we wire this up so that it gets used? So from a hard code perspective, which really doesn't solve our problem, but we can do it. If we say dilute in our do delivery for message and in our execute workflow, instead of running deliver message by email, we can say deliver message by email to team. We're passing the same pieces of information. So it's going to work. And so if we can save and test this, and let's see what we get. Still going to send this a second message. We're going to send it to me. Actually, we'll send it to Patrick because he's on the same team, so I should get it anyway. And it says it did the work. Now, give me a second here, and we'll give Google a second to get a hold of the message. And so, yeah, we got it. So this message came in with the prefix of to team. So it sent it to me, and Patrick, we'll just have to trust you. Can you tell us you got a message?
I did.
All right.
Received.
So we've got two different delivery methods, but now we've got to figure out a way to wire them up. So so that the goal again is the user gets to describe, or we get to decide how they subscribe to these messages. And so we're going to do that through a new entity called subscriber delivery option. So we're going to wander away here for a minute and do a new entity. So it's going to be called subscriber delivery option. The plural of that is options. I'm still going to put it down here in our development area. So it's just out of the way. And the kinds of things that we're going to have in here are, I'm going to have a title, which will also be my display name. And actually, I'm going to simplify this a little bit from my original. Yeah, no, I'm not. So I'm going to wire in our message urgency here that we had as an entity. And also, this is the new concept. So the delivery option is going to have a delivery workflow, and that's going to be a piece of text. It's actually going to be a GUID, and you'll see how we get that in just a second. So yeah, so this entity subscriber delivery option, we'll save that. And so once that's saved, we're going to go back to our subscriber and wire that into the subscriber so that subscribers can have lots of delivery options. And so let's get that done. So in addition to all the other things that we know about a subscriber, we're going to add a new thing called delivery options, and it's going to be connected to as a list of subscriber delivery options. So let's see what this gives to us. Basically, it's going to let us, for each subscriber, have different ways to deliver things. So we go to subscribers and we look at our record and we see that both of them now have this new thing, 0 delivery options. But if I can go in here and I can say, well, I want to add a delivery option. It's going to be the one for low, and I don't know what to put in here. Well, we've got to modify this title here a little bit. So to get our workflows. Let me find that spot in my notes. There is a form called the delivery options form. This is where you enter in a new delivery option. And came to the spot, what we really want to end up in this piece of the database is the GUID of the workflow so that we can call it dynamically. But in order to do that and make it be nice for the user, what we're going to do is to turn this into, from a text box into a drop down. And so that's going to be a single choice drop down. And it will be a SQL query. And as part of the notes to this, and we'll post it here in a minute. Actually, I'll do it very quickly. I'll give you the SQL that we're going to do, but it's this. We're selecting out of our workflows the name of the workflow and the name of the workspace, the namespace, and also the GUID of everything that has the prefix deliver message by. So we're not giving you a choice to do all workflows, but we're just letting you select workflows and we're putting them in order for you. Let me drop that on the chat in case anybody wants to use that. This is how to select workflows dynamically. And that should be it. So we'll save it and refresh. So now if we go to add a delivery option for me, I can say low and I can pick, see now it's showing my workflows. And so I'm saying for low urgency items, I want to just deliver it by email. And this is, I'm just going to call it standard. I'm just using that to give it just a name here. And it shows me this nice ugly workflow message, but a workflow GUID, we'll clean that up in just a second. And so we'll also say that for medium, we also want to do it the same way, but we'll add one more, and this is, we're going to call this the urgent one, and it's, if it has high urgency, we're going to deliver it to the email by the team. So we've now said that we've basically captured my preferences. Low urgency things I want to go to be delivered this way. If we wire in a new thing like deliver by SMS, we might say that high messages also go to the SMS one as well. But let's do one little bit of cleanup. This delivery workflow GUID isn't very friendly. So we've also developed a token, and this is courtesy of founder Bogdan Lutescu did this. But so I'm going to just import these in and export them. So if we go back to our tokens, we're going to import some tokens, then I'll explain them. So we have workflow tokens, and the one I'm interested in is GUID to name, and I'm going to test it. And if I test it with a good value, like this value, too much, we get the name of the thing, deliver message by email. So this is just a SQL statement that goes and selects out of that same database and says, look at the Plenty workflows, and for this particular GUID, get the name. Not an amazing workflow, but it just does that conversion for us. So now we can take advantage of that over here in our listing. And so I'm going to go to the delivery options list and add a new column. that will be a computed field. Use that same thing, and then the value that we want to do, and all the values are listed here. It's the delivery workflow. So instead of this static value, we'll place delivery workflow in there. And so now when we save that column, it's showing you the name of the workflow instead of the GUID of the workflow. So now we can clean that up one more time. We don't need the GUID on screen at all. So we will delete that out and give it the same title. So now we just see that in a nice clean format. All right, we're down to the last thing, and we've got 9 minutes to do it. I think we can make it. So this is the whole point, right? Do delivery for message. Instead of executing this workflow as a static, we're going to want to find the delivery methods that are connected to our subscriber and deliver it in whatever way that they've subscribed. So let's see what that looks like. So the first is that we need to go out and get the methodologies that apply, and so that's going to be a create list from SQL action. And this is one of those times when I have to copy some predetermined SQL, and maybe we'll go after it, go through it in detail later. But for now, we'll just do it at a high level. This is saying that I'm getting for my subscriber, going through the join table, and we've covered that in other episodes, but the join table says this is the join between the subscriber and the delivery options, that I want to get the delivery option record. So DO is the delivery option. So at the end, what we come out with is the name, the delivery option that's associated with them, and the delivery workflow ID that's associated with them. And so we gotta pass it a couple of things. We need the subscriber ID and the message urgency, because we want the one that applies to whatever message is coming in. So the first one, subscriber ID, is coming from the subscriber, and the message urgency is going to come from our message. The message urgency is on the message. That's the methodology that we're going to search for here. We're going to come out to a list, and it's going to be the delivery option list. And I'm going to change my description a little bit so that we can know that that's what it's doing. So now we have a list that we can work from. And so instead of directly calling the workflow, we're going to have to do a for each. And so for each action that is, this is basically, we're going to be processing through the delivery option list. And that's the list name that we'll do there. And so now what we're going to want to do is to call the workflow, and we're going to call it dynamically. So let's build that. So we're going to workflow. This time it's going to be a little bit different because we need to do it by expression. So because we don't want to pick just one workflow, we want to pick whatever workflow is attached to it. So I'm clicking the expression button. That's going to let me type. So we're going to use the delivery option list. Over workflow, that's part of what came out of the SQL. And so we're going to call whichever workflow they asked for. And that's the dynamic part. On the workflow inputs, this is kind of difficult now because it doesn't, because it's dynamic, we can't be tied to a particular input. So we have to do these by expression as well. So message that we want to pass is the same message. And we also want to pass the subscriber, which is the subscriber coming into this. And then for our outputs, again, we're going to do R. I'm not doing anything with them. Probably won't be able to get to that today to take care of our outputs. But so now for every delivery method that they have selected through that list of entities that's connected to subscriber, it's going to loop through those and deliver that way. We don't need this hard-coded one anymore. So now let's save and test this. We'll just test it interactively here. So we're going to send this second message again. We're going to send it to me, and we'll run it. It says that it's been sent, and now we can take a look at. Let's see, we should actually take a look at the message in question was a low priority message, so this should just go to me. And so let's see if we can look at it in. So just to kind of open your mind up a little bit to this, if we, just so that you get the idea, now that we've done the work of doing this in a dynamic way, we can go to our workflows, and if we want to do things to deliver messages in another way, like we'll just make a copy of this one and say that we're going to deliver it by SMS. I guess I did copy. I did download. I want to do a duplicate. So let's say instead of doing this, we're going to do it by SMS. And I'm not actually going to do the work to build an SMS, but I'm going to save that. What we've set up is then that for a given subscriber, we can go to the delivery options and add a delivery option for urgent messages. So now we have deliver by SMS and add. So when you got a hi message, it would deliver both to the team and by SMS. And if you needed to follow that up with a printed one as well, you can just add workflows as you go. So long as they accept the same inputs, that one delivery workflow, the do delivery for message, will allow you to handle as many different ways of delivery as you can think of, or you can perhaps have that could also be used for versioning. So if you had a variation that was to deliver by email, and then you made a copy of that and added all kinds of error handling and maybe some logging or additional functionality, you could now start to try out a new variation of that delivery workflow and eventually flip all your people to it once you've got it done and tested. So it's a pattern that lets you link in many different things and perhaps deal with versioning and incremental development. All right, so I guess the The last thing that I'll just kind of mention is some use cases that I mean, we've been paying attention to message delivery, but this could be used, for example, in a dynamic billing system to run different kinds of billing based on what the customer wants. And so instead of making your workflow very complex to handle everything, you just at the point where it's going to do something different having to do with billing method, it would drop to a secondary workflow that would be dynamic and do one thing to process a credit card, a different thing to process PayPal, different to process crypto. You could do order processing. So depending on whether you get to the point where you're about to ship it, well, if it's digital, you're going to ship it by email. If it's physical, you're going to produce a label. So just being able to keep that core workflow simple, but dealing with the delivery. You're onboarding a customer, and so you can take a look around at what their role or preferences or where they live and be more engaging, drop into a different workflow to handle different customers. What we were doing was content delivery customization. So we were taking a look at the user preferences, what they want to see based on urgency of the message, and so that we were you can tailor to a client. Maybe they don't care about low urgency messages, but they want high urgency messages to get blasted to everybody. So that's that. Couple more cases, you could do your support tickets differently depending on customer priority. Perhaps you have your high paying contracted support going to your direct to your level 2 people and skipping past your level 1 person. And so you just have a completely different routing path that could be handled by dynamically by a workflow. Project management, there's dozens of use cases, and you really just have to figure out how to apply it to you. All right, I've been talking a lot, and we've come to the end of our hour, but if there's any questions, I should have given you the warning that we're coming up on that, but if there's any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them. And aside from that, this is something that we can pick up again in Low Code Campfire 2 days from now. And so if you're not signed up for that, sign up for it, the link that you got on the chat, and then you'll get a notice from me, a reminder in advance about an hour that we're going to start. With no questions here, I'm going to step away. Thank you for joining us for Low Code Cafe. We'll be back here again in 2 weeks with another live episode. Thanks.